had the huge announcement that they are building a new hospital in Nipawin. So how long have kind of that been in the works?
It's been in the works for a long time. Like all the councillors are in favor of a hospital for sure. And we've been working hard, I think, to, like as a council and prior councils and administration, everybody knows that Nipawin needs healthcare. We need good healthcare. I think it's a pretty core thing that everyone wants. It's just sometimes people do more things than others. And one thing is when we would go to these AMM meetings on behalf of Nipawin, we would always strategically pick ministers to meet with. And it's a lot of thanks to our leadership within our council and our town admin. But
AMM is the Association of Manitoba Municipalities, is that right?
That's correct.
Okay, just making sure.
And one thing we wanted to do as a council is we wanted to have a good rapport, a good relationship with the government. So we've always been really close with our MLAs, our neighboring MLAs, and we've always opened up an invitation to visit with them. And we've always been this council especially has been really inviting. And the MLAs and the government respects that. And they come and, I remember hearing from Mayor McClutchan that when Calvin Gertzen came here with the new school opening, he was impressed and he thought that it was very welcoming Nipawin. Whereas sometimes, when MLAs go to communities, this is what Minister Gertzen actually told the mayor was sometimes they're not looked upon like they did in Nipawin. So the fact that Nipawin is so welcoming and we've been doing so much to support that is laying a good foundation and a good relationship. So it's all about those relationships with the government and people you work with. So if that wasn't enough, we were always engaging and meeting with ministers, and we have a lot to say in Nipawin. So we're always helping promote the province in all their different. Nipawin is the small community, just like my small division there. I see a lot of similarities. So we're always helping the province learn. And I think the province is thankful for that. But everything just happened to click, and we got this new hospital because it clicked. So the announcement of the new hospital and everything coming is because a lot of people have been working hard. Even the other governments, the other parties, we've been lobbying. So, if anyone has any Liberal, NDP, or PC connections, they've all been pushing, Nipawin is looking for a hospital. What can we do to support that? So any lobbying we can do, not just meeting with the ministers, but I think as councillors, that's our job is to go to these conferences and talk to the different people when they come to speak. And what's interesting is the other parties were willing to build a hospital in Nipawin because we kept talking about it. They said, if we got elected, we would build a hospital. And that word spreads, I think, those things. So, if it wasn't already in their ear, they knew it was. I'm really thankful for Councillor Parrott being on our health committee. He gets to go there and he gets to advocate for Nipawin. And sometimes I think when our councillors would go there in the past, they might have been really quiet. But Councillor Parrott's he's really active, and that's good because, that's something I wanted to do. I wanted to actually be on that committee, and I wanted to be active in helping to make sure that we had a voice there. And obviously everything just clicked, and I can't tell you exactly which thing did it, but I think people would say with our population growth, our industry growth, we've been really good with our new industry here, High Life, So we've been a really good partner.
And we've put in that infrastructure that's needed, like the wastewater, like the new water plant, things like that.
That's right. We've got a new lagoon system, a new water reservoir. We've laid down a lot of the infrastructure. The new care home. And a lot of this was before my time, but lots of it's being done now. And then the regional fire hall, the regional police station. So all those things, and I say regional because we wanted to be a regional hub in all areas. And as soon as you're a regional hub, we were very fortunate. Again, a lot of hard work from everybody. It's a team effort to get the police station a go. If you think about it, though, it's like these ideas started many years ago. Over 20 years ago. However, to see them come to fruition, that was part of what was important. This council, to compliment them now because everyone's, done their part, we really want to see it happen. So it's what do we have to do to support this? So we all think alike, and we all want to see what's best for Nipawin. And, to have this term of council, it's been really a privilege and fortunate because to see a new hospital of this magnitude, police station, fire station, and then, of course, the new pool slide.
Water slide.
Water slide coming. One thing.
And we have the new bike park, and that is a huge thing.
The new
as
bike
well.
park.
Yeah.
I could keep going. I've got lists and lists. So it's amazing that this short term, there's been so much accomplished.
Yeah.
And again, it's thankful to everybody. And
It's
thankful.
been building for a long time.
It's the residents too. Like the residents, they helped strategically vocalize what they want and what they need. And I think, again, thanks to the residents of Nipwa, we're able to do what we're doing. And, and everyone we pay, I think we pay high taxes, but we get really good services.
Yeah.
Like excellent services. And, we get a lot of compliments from other trades when they come in here because they're like, wow, your roads are clear already. Like other communities, they're still driving on messy roads. So we take for granted and we have it so good. Sometimes it feels like, how come they didn't come plow yet? Well, and it happens. Sometimes things happen.
They're plowing the route to the hospital first. I mean, that's just kind of how it goes.
There is a priority.
Yeah.
A priority list. And
do you think that we're reaching a point now, like you said, we have the new hospital, which can be constructed, 2025 is their estimated completion date on that, which is actually a very quick
2 years.
turnaround. That's we're just to break ground next year in 2025. So with that, with the fire station, with all the new construction, are we kind of entering the snowball effect where we have enough population to support these and they're going to bring in more population and roll that way? Do you think that's kind of where we're going with this?
Oh, definitely. There's no reason as we start building this new hospital and, still we know there's supposed to, like everyone talks about this, there's more accommodations, more being built. So there's also more residences being on the books. That's another thing too. Our growth is just automatically helping itself. So there's no reason why we can't continue to grow. I truly believe that we're going to be able to attract another big industry similar to a High Life, which is going to just allow our population to, exponentially grow. And we're just going to keep growing. And Nipwa has done so much work. Like our physicians, I don't want to, take for granted what they did. Our recruiting team, all those volunteers that help raise money for the clinic, without those people doing that, we wouldn't have the physicians we have. Other communities don't have physicians, they're borrowing ours. Yeah. And really, we've been able to recruit these physicians and bring them to Nipwa.
And they've been staying.
And keep them.
Yeah.
So, again, we have some of the best healthcare. And again, I recognized that when I first came through Nipwa, many years ago, that we had really good healthcare here. And, and that's why with me, with possibly my children needing healthcare, this was the place for me to stop.
I mean, because certainly we have the hospital now, which I believe has 30 critical care beds. And so we have a good foundation for having the workforce to support this new hospital coming in. But then you have the new hospital, you have new specialists coming in, and we hope these people will settle in Nipwa as well, I think, and sort of just bloom in that way.
Definitely.
Rather than commute, for instance, to...
again, because I was always interested in medicine, and our physicians are so nice to talk to. And, whenever you're out, you're trying to lobby and talk to other counselors and other communities and try to figure out how you can help support Nipwa. One thing is I've heard that we have some of the best anesthesiologists. We have some of the best surgeons. And again, a lot of surgeries just over the past year, they've been sending from Brandon to Nipwa. Yeah. And we only have the one surgical room. So it just makes sense. Like we already have some of the top people in the whole province. Yeah. So we have to start doing things to help support them and keep them here. Yeah.
And having the top people attracts more of the top people. And I think that's another snowball effect you get there where...
That's right.
It breeds that kind of excellence in the area.
So yeah, you definitely, you have to thank everyone. Like it's definitely a team effort. And even, like we have NACTV and our media, we get really good coverage. And the fact that it's based out of Nipwa and one of the few with the station like this, it's just tremendous. It's such a great resource.
And this has been expanding as well. So yeah.
It gets the word out. Like people are watching it all over. So definitely, I think it's not one in particular thing that has allowed us to gain this hospital. But I think definitely the residents elected people that were not going to stop until we got this hospital. And that was the one thing I was a little at first, like I was really reflecting on it a few months ago. I was really thinking, okay, this is my last year now. And I looked back at those little handouts and I thought, what is something that I didn't accomplish? And one thing that I didn't accomplish was the hospital. And having that news last week of the hospital, I was doing somersaults and, I
think we all were.
It was just an amazing announcement. So definitely being able to come here after that, you're
the first one I've talked to since the announcement. So you get to get all the glory for that.
Well, I get to definitely have that conversation.
Get the excitement.
Yes. So such a great thing for Nipawin. And just that any one of these things would be a great thing for Nipawin. But the fact that we're having all of it happen at once.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Is something. It's thanks to the good people too, our great people that at our administration office that help get these grants, the good people that work as counselors. So definitely those are things that, you want to really pay tribute to.
Yeah. Now, one of the things that I've sort of asked everyone I've sat down with, and I really especially want to get your perspective on this just because of your background and experiences, is now our population in Nipawin has rapidly increased over the last 10 years, largely due to immigration. And then that families coming, birth rate, et cetera. But that means that a large proportion of our adult population, of course, are permanent residents and not citizens yet, can't run for council, can't vote. So what measures do you think that we can take, should take, to make sure that that population is being represented? How do we encourage people to run for council from our newcomer population?
When I was out campaigning, one of the things I ran into was residents were telling me, I can't vote. And a lot of people at that time would just walk away. Oh, it's not a vote. Who cares? I said, listen, if I am elected and I'm your counselor, I want to know what you feel is important. Yeah. So I think just talking to our residents, no matter how long they've been here, whether they can vote or not, is definitely important. And that's one thing I strive to do. I gave as much time as anyone wanted. And that's why 2.5 hours, that one spot, a couple of those, and I had to start being a little more strategic. But definitely talking to our newcomers and letting them know that we're here to listen, we're here to help. And again, anyone is welcome to run when the election happens. Yeah. But there is a huge time commitment. And unfortunately, a lot of people are working hard and they can't put that time in. And the reason why I give back so much myself is because I feel fortunate to have the things that I have after even having the job I have allows me to have that extra time. So being an educator, I have a little flexibility, and that kind of leads me to a lot of the volunteering I do in the community. Because I think one of the reasons I ran again was to give back also. So me giving back into the community is being a counselor, helping make those good decisions. And all decisions are good, definitely. And some are harder than others. Yeah. But you definitely want to be able to give back and you want to give to the community.
How important do you think it is to make sure we have someone from the newcomer community on council to make sure that our council is diverse and representing all of our community?
I think it's something that happens naturally. I don't think it's something you can force. And I think it's something, if people are interested, they're going to run. I think just sharing information is important. But I really think that sometimes people come to a place because it's already functioning really well. And, there's a lot of places I go and I just want to enjoy the services that are there and I want to have a good time. If I go to a swimming pool, I don't want to
be a lifeguard.
I don't want to be a lifeguard. I just want to enjoy the swimming pool and take that moment. So again, it depends on the person, what they're interested in. And I do know we have some new residents that are really, really strong and they would do really good. But again, sometimes they have said when you try to encourage them, they say, maybe next time.
And the time commitment is not insignificant. I mean, I think that is a barrier to a lot of people being able to run.
Definitely. I know, you plan your schedule around your council meetings because, you can't do certain things because you want to be there at that meeting. You don't want to miss a meeting. So I know in my time, I've worked hard to make sure I didn't miss any meetings. I think I have missed one, unfortunately. It was a pre-booked event before I became a counselor. So that was unfortunately unavoidable. But there's a few reasons why you want to be there too. You want to have that say, you want to have that discussion to help represent the citizens of Nipawin, but you also want to be there to serve the citizens.
So just sort of getting into now some of the specific things you do in council. And I sort of mentioned to you previously that I was going to delve into this one in particular. I'm really interested in the Spruce Plains Justice Committee, and which focuses on what restorative justice and what that is. Like, explain what it is and how it works in the community.
You know, it's a wonderful committee that I got appointed as a councillor rep. And what's interesting is it really makes a difference with people. Not a lot of these committees do you see the impact right away. Sometimes it takes many years. Like, look at the hospital. How many councillors have sat working, endless, tireless hours in order to get the hospital? It all comes back to the hospital, right?
It always does.
So this restorative justice process, it's interesting. I have a little history with it. They first came to school divisions, the Howard Johnson Society, and there was a couple top people that were part of it. And this one gentleman by the name of Travis. So he was a security guard at one of the most secure prisons with some of the most aggressive criminals. So he actually works for John Howard, and he's actually the head of all this. And he came to school division saying, we need to look at how we engage with students, with their behavior. Like, if we just expel students or suspend them, that's not very good. Like, we have to find out what caused it and try to help support them so that they can have an extra chance. And divisions all decided whether they would, use these strategies or not, restorative justice strategies. So he's been a real big advocate. And as a councillor, I got appointed to this committee. And I've really had that interest because I mentioned that I was interested in law. And definitely, I watch a lot of law shows. Not that, I'm not certified. I watched LA Law. But no, definitely you go there, and I had to do training in order to be on this committee. So I went to the John Howard Society and did the training. And you're taught that people have to admit guilt, and then you can move on. And by moving on, the committee then makes a decision after someone admits to their crime, what they did, what they were charged with. Then you can move on we decide as a committee of peers. And there's people from all over the region, because it's the Spruce Plains Justice Committee. And there's people from our different communities as councillors, but also as citizens reps. And they're able to help decide what this person really needs. And sometimes it's addiction counseling. Sometimes it's counseling. Sometimes it's working on anger issues. And sometimes it's just, in the heat of the moment, you can do something that you didn't really mean to do. And most of our cases we're able to handle. Sometimes, though, some of the people on the committee say, like, this is too aggressive. We don't want this one. So as a group, we decide if we're going to take it on or not. Because sometimes you do things that you don't mean to. Let's say, you're just tossing a rock and you hit someone's windshield by accident because the car you didn't know it was there and it happened. But you see, you still have to have a consequence. So the restorative justice, maybe that person would have to pay for the windshield, or better yet, maybe they have to do some community service. So this committee is a really neat committee where we take on cases, and that takes the cases away from the court system. And we probably have a 10-fold saving factor for the court system. So it would cost 10 times or more what we basically do it all just volunteer. So, sometimes some members claim some mileage just so they don't incur the additional expenses, but we're all volunteering our time and we make that difference. And again, everything's confidential. So unfortunately, you can't talk about it, but there's a lot of people that just need that extra chance,
And this is keeping young people from going into the court system, into the prison system.
People of all ages. And sometimes there's vandalism. And again, how can we make it right? So maybe they're going to work off they couldn't afford to pay for the cost of a new whatever they broke. And I don't want to reveal anything by accident. So definitely
a new coffee table.
A new coffee table. So how can you make it right? And a lot of times the businesses will say, you know what, maybe if they worked here all summer, they'll get paid their wage and they can pay it off that way. And a lot of people do take on this because it gives them a chance to have no record. After they serve their time and they make it right, now it's like they're back at the start. So that's a really good thing to help support them.
And I think it's a thing, and why I wanted to ask about it is I didn't know it existed. I think a lot of people don't realize that this exists in the background of our system here that's really trying to lift people up.
You know, what's interesting too is on our committee, we recognize that we would like to have someone from our newcomers to be part of the committee. So we talked with Immigrant Services and said, who would you recommend as someone that would really not only want to do it, but that can do a good job? So we do have someone on our committee that is reflective of the makeup of and composition of our committee. So, you know, you do see that, and, you know, definitely good to have that input from all different members. So it's really a neat committee in that sense. Again, I want to make sure I'm there as much as I can be. And I want to make sure I'm doing a really good job. And you know, you go do the training and you do you follow everything by the book. And then I'm there as words of wisdom to help support my fellow committee members there. Because, you know, we had a case where someone didn't want to admit the guilt. Mm-hmm. And, you know, you understand, because it's hard to admit that guilt, because maybe you're innocent, but in order to get past this and not have a record, you might have to admit the guilt. And somebody didn't want to admit guilt. But I think the committee really wanted to hear this case, but our rules say we can't hear it. So unless they're going to follow that rule, then we're not able to proceed. So sometimes we have to wait and take direction. And unfortunately, it happened just a month ago where we had to meet a couple times before we can get it right. Yeah. We want to make sure we do it right. So it's a way to help support our community and our residents, again, at a local level. Yeah. And help support making a difference, because, you know, going to jail isn't going to help people. Once you get a record, it's hard to get a job. It's hard to keep your job.
Yeah, exactly.
And it destroys your family. So if you make a mistake that you can recover from, this allows you that opportunity to make up for that.
Yeah, and it keeps people out of the system, and it keeps people being productive and members of the community.
That's right. So I also serve on the library committee for council. Right. And that's the Western Manitoba Regional Library Board. And it's a board where, again, you make a lot of key big decisions that help support the residents of Nipawin. Yeah. Residents don't realize that they can use their library card at any of the libraries. So they could go to Brandon, they could go to
because we're in a regional library system.
That's right. Yeah. And you can have things brought here. So they'll get sent in the mail, internal mail, that'll free of charge, where they could pick up at the library, you know, because people travel between the libraries all the time. Yeah. So it's really a really good support. Now, what's important about being on this committee is you need someone that's going to advocate for Nipawin, someone that's vocal. And one thing that people know about me is I always have those hard conversations and say what needs to be said. And, you know, I'm not worried if people like me or love me. You're going to like me because you know what to expect. You know someone's going to work hard for you and they're going to do what's good. But those hard conversations, people almost expect it now, you know. They're like, so Jason, what do you have to say at this meeting, you know? And sometimes it's nothing, but sometimes it's just standing up to make sure that everyone's doing their fair share. Yeah. So as we look at what rate we pay per capita, as part of this library group, we have to make sure that we're getting our fair share. One of the things I do with council too is I'm on the Rossburn Subdivision Trail Association. Right, yeah. And that's interesting. Councillor Parrott was really focusing on healthcare. And he said, Jason, are you able to take this on? And I'm a very good team player. So I said, you bet, Councillor Parrott. So I took it on and he said, it's just once a month. Little did I know the first meeting was 3.5 hours. And then they wanted to have a couple meetings follow up that month. Yeah. So before you know it, it became about 10 hours a month. Yeah. And when you're on these different committees, then you get tasked to be on subcommittees. Right. So whether it's strategic planning, human resources, you keep adding to these extra committees that you're on. So it's really interesting. If you start adding up all the days and stuff, you can see if you added up council and the different committees I'm on, volunteering, it's about 20 days a month. Yeah. So it's, you know, I'm on 10 different committees plus council, like as a committee as a whole. And council has been putting in the time. We meet before those council meetings that we get filmed, and we do a lot of education. It's not these discussions that people, are like, what are they talking about? It's about learning about the history of the town and how things came to be what they are.
Yeah.
So again, thanks to our strong leadership in our town admin, it allows us to get that perspective to make really solid decisions.
Exactly. You need that background. You need to know what has already happened before you can decide what's going to happen next, really.
That's right. And you might have seen me out there. I'm on Citizens on Patrol. I'm the secretary treasurer for that also. And I used to have fun when we would do our speed watch, because you're just sitting there and you're doing statistics for Manitoba Public Insurance, but you're also helping support, you're doing check it or click it, ticket. You're trying to do things, little things with the police, so people can see the sign and reduce, see our warning sign, or they might get an extra warning from an officer. And our officers in town are just amazing, great people to work with, and they're really fair. So if you're going to be honest, they're going to be honest too. And they're really good people. So again, I encourage people to join any of these groups, even Citizens on Patrol. We could always use members. I'm also on the Yellowhead Center board.
Okay.
And that's a really, really important board. And because I ran and I wanted to really help recreation in town also, I'm a big advocate. You want to make sure that you can really support them. So from the inside, I've been helping support them there. And my kids are participating in hockey and figure skating. So I wanted to give back to those groups also. So I'm actually on the Nipwa Figure Skating Board also.
Okay.
So again, I keep really busy trying to help support the different groups. And there's some amazing people in all these committees. And if it wasn't for the dedicated hours of all the coaches in our community, we're so fortunate to have those people.
Oh, absolutely. So we are definitely running short of time. Do you have any last thoughts, any sort of important ideas that you want to get out there about your role on council?
I better hit another board I'm a part of real quick.
Okay.
The Westlake Employment.
Oh, absolutely, yes.
Services Board, or Skills and Services Board. Definitely, it's one of my newer boards I've been on for a year and a half. And I want to make sure, though, even though I got elected, that I'm still on all these boards that I was on, because I didn't join them just to get elected or anything. It was about making sure that you give to your community. So what's interesting is, even though I'm so busy and a part of these boards, and I'm still, trying to be super dad, being that really good father, and I spend a lot of time with my kids and family, and I work long hours, and I just don't sleep as much, that's all. But one thing is you might find somebody that is more talented in certain areas, but I have that skill set and that knowledge in so many different areas. And even though I'm really busy, it's interesting. I'm still looking, what else can I take on? Because there's always something to help out with. And so definitely, if you want someone that's going to work hard, I want residents to know that I'm going to be there working hard for them. And you want someone that's going to put in that time and make sure that they go over every single line on a budget sheet. And again, I'm learning from all these great people that I work with, whether it's this council or other committees I'm on, and just amazing people in the area, this region. And I think Nipwa is going to continue to flourish. And I think if residents, they're seeing that we're looking at improving infrastructure, one thing we didn't really get to talk about a lot. We want to really help support infrastructure. And we did a lot of positive steps this year. And again, now that we're putting our money in different cycles, we're able to help support more and more of that. So we're going to see even more next year. And I think that's a positive. And we didn't get to quite finish some of the stuff we were going to do because of the weather, but now we're at the front of the line, as we heard. And, and sometimes you just have to be patient, a little patient. But, the residents, they pay good taxes. They deserve everything that they want. And I think all the councillors and everyone is working really hard to help support that. And I think Nipwa is very fortunate to have such good people. And the residents are just amazing also. So it's, you're part of, it's the community itself that makes the community. So definitely we're very lucky.
Well, thank you so much for making the time to come here today. We've had a little trouble connecting up until now, so I'm glad we finally got to sit down and talk about all this.
Oh, great. And anytime you want to talk, I can definitely find some time possibly in between one of those days. But, thank you very much.
Great. And thank all of you for joining us. We will see you next time on The Decision Makers.